What's good, guys? Welcome back to the back room. It's your boy CG.
This your boy Bernard Barr.
Let's have a real conversation. All right, man. So, what we got going on today, brother?
Hey, man. I was riding home today, man, and I had a conversation with my pops, man. No, serious. Like, no, man, it wasn't.
Dad conversation.
Man, no, real talk, man. I'm gonna name this one Like Father, Like Son.
Okay. So tell us about that.
Well, me just thinking about that, man, like I predominantly was raised by my mother and everything like that. And it's crazy to I never got I guess certain understandings just from him or his perspective.
Right.
Like I've always felt like, oh, okay, well, look, man, this is what you should have did or this such and such, whatever it may be. But it's crazy to feel like the older that I got and the older that I started looking at everything from his point of view, like I started to understand him more.
Right.
And it's crazy, like the older we get, it's like we understand our parents more, if that makes sense.
It's like it's kind of like that Progressive commercial. Like, well, we can save you on insurance, but we can't prevent you from becoming your parents.
Yeah.
So I get that, man, and I think what it is that, as a child you think as a child, as a man you start to think as a man.
True.
And regardless whether your father was in the picture or not, y'all still communicate and stuff like that.
Of course.
It wasn't a whole predominantly he was around.
Yeah.
But you start to understand certain situations of dang, I probably would have stepped back at the same time too.
Right. And it just was even certain things in the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things that I'm like, dog, you know what, man? I am in a good way. I am just like my dad.
Right.
I get why he may have told me hey, this type of girl, stay away from that type of girl and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got to his age, I started realizing yeah, man, on certain stuff, hey man, Pops had the
yeah. And that's one of the things with my dad, I know that sometimes he might think that I don't see certain things, but he always, he looking out for me and stuff. But I paid attention, you know what I'm saying? I did pay attention coming up, and it was a lot of situations that I found myself in, and it was just damn, bro, this shit just like my dad now. And it wasn't all good. Some of the situation, it was just, it was things I had to grow from, but it was just cause, I don't know why that you end up in that cycle, but it's just, I don't know if it's genetic or if it's just because you living in the same area your dad grew up in or what.
Right. Well, see, look, it will be certain situations with my dad, certain relatives might be well, if you're looking for him to buy you something, he probably not gonna do it.
Right.
And Pops, I love you, but it's crazy to think that as it wasn't my dad is cheap or anything like that. As I got older, my dad is financially responsible.
Yeah.
Like he always have been.
Yeah.
But if you coming from a kid point of view, you just wondering why he didn't buy you something. But actually, as I got into my age, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have did it either.
Right. And, I got some of those situations where it's I like helping people. My dad, he like helping people. And sometimes it's to our detriment. We might put our bodies through certain things trying to help somebody out.
Yeah.
Just because we like helping people. And as when I was younger, it's I couldn't understand why he would help somebody, but then he ain't really want to be around them or whatever. He'll say something about them or whatever. But then as I got older, it's just man, it make you feel good to be able to be a provider. You know what I'm saying? And that's the core. My dad, he a provider. So I kind of took that role and I help people. And sometimes it's certain people that don't deserve my help that I might help anyway just because I like doing it.
Yeah, and so in my case, man, not being around, you know, my dad a lot when in my teen years, it's crazy. It's like we kind of took the same steps. Like, and it's like in a way I was following in his footsteps and I didn't even know it. You know, like for him to be, you know, this small town well-known DJ and I'm doing music. Like I you know, I really didn't know that until like people actually started telling me that. Where it's like, oh, nah, you get it from your daddy. Like, and it's kind of like, huh? Like,
bruh,
really?
It's some weird, like, and a lot of people don't know this about my dad. He got that one little freestyle, bruh. Hey, but he killed that one little freestyle. But it just like, you know, I will say that I got music from both sides of because my mom, she loves singing and all that stuff, and then and my dad, like I said, he got. I'm guessing back in high school, he must have had his little, you know, circle, but it's just weird to picture my dad, you know, rapping.
Right, and you never, like, that's the reason why I say, like, it's a lot of stuff that you know, don't think you got a lot of traits of your dad in.
Right.
But as you grow older, like, you get a lot of understanding from your parents. And like I said, it's not just, you know, we're talking about it from a perspective of, you know, our dad. But it may be someone watching this, it could be like mother, like daughter.
Right.
But they can have certain characteristics where they don't understand it right then. But as they get older and they have children, they'll understand what their parents are really trying to do.
Now, what I will say about that now is it's certain things you gotta recognize this, whether it's gonna be good for you or not. Because, you know, all the traits ain't good.
No,
you know what I'm saying? So it's like you gotta recognize where, okay, certain things, just because your parents did it and it worked out for them, don't mean that you need to take that same path.
And I agree with that. But I think what it all comes down to, our parents are basically like roadmaps for who we're supposed to be. Like, truthfully, like, we're supposed to become the better version of them. We're supposed to take, whether that's your mother, whether that's your father, you're supposed to take all their good qualities and boom, here come you. So you can see all their pitfalls and their mistakes. And then you take it and it's like, oh, okay, this is where my dad fell short at. Let me jump over that. This is where my mom fell short at. I'm gonna jump over that. And it's like, it's not designed to like, well, I'm gonna be just like them. No, you gotta be the best version of them.
And you're exactly right on that. Like, cause we're not perfect. Nobody's gonna be perfect. So we gotta take those things that because it's like having the inside scoop on something. So like our parents are giving us the inside scoop on life. Through they successes and they failures. You know what I'm saying? So it's up to us to like be able to look at those parts where they succeeded at and like capitalize or build on those positive things and try to avoid those pitfalls and everything. And so that we can try to become better, and basically we setting the stage for our children so that they can become better. So, you know, eventually if it works out the right way, you end up with great people.
And also too, like, to touch on that, it's just to understand, like, hey, you know, your dad, your mom, guess what? They are people. Like, they are flawed as the same way you're flawed. So like, I know, like, most of the time our parents, you know, when you look at them, like, they're superheroes, and you don't think, you know, they have a bad day. But like, as older you get, you realize, like, look, man, he had fear, he had doubts, he had things that he had to overcome too. You know, like, even when I like kind of think about my dad, and I look at, like, look, man, you got to understand, what was he, you know, when I was born? He's 28. Right. What I was doing at 28. Like, you know, what was you doing? Like, do you expect that person to be perfect, or are you gonna let that person grow? And that person deserved the same right. And I just, as I grew up and getting past that adolescent stage, and like, oh man, I don't hear from my dad on such and such this. The older that I got, I'm realizing, like, look, the same way I'm expecting my dad to call, I could pick up the phone. I could call him as well. I don't know what he's going through in his life at that time. Because that's how I go.
And I definitely understand that. You know, because I've had like this, I kind of had the opposite situation. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't. Well, it's literally opposite. But in the sense that, you know, it's times where I felt like I would always find my mom, but it was just like, you know, certain situations where like, why you ain't come like look for me? I'm a kid, like, you know what I'm saying? I shouldn't be doing the leg work for an adult. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it like, you know, and I love my mom. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's certain things that I still probably won't understand just because like looking like, especially being an adult, like and having children and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's certain things that just like hard to kind of like really get through.
And we're gonna touch on that on certain episodes as that. But the one thing that I will say when you touched on that, like I said, I'm raised by my mom. You're raised by your dad. So of course, you know, we're already looking at like different things from that. The one thing that I will say is the older that you probably got with your mama, and like you learn to like let stuff go. Like you learn to like listen. At the end of the day, I want to know you. You know what I'm saying? And like an episode we did earlier, if you don't let that go, you get stuck in a toxic loop with your mom. Right. So you have to break it in order to progress. Right. You have to. And I think most of the time, like I've learned that earlier in my life, where it was like, you know what, man, at the end of the day, my parents are just like me as I was as I'm growing up, as I'm developing. So I understand certain things that they did. I may not necessarily agree with everything, but I started to understand this. I understand that, you know, hey, my mom, my dad, they're not together. You probably, some kids can probably get to that understanding where it's like, now, you know what, maybe they shouldn't been together. Yeah, you know, maybe they're like, better apart.
It'd be funny because, like, you know, my mom, she be like, you know what I'm saying, like, flirting with my dad and stuff. I'd be like, man, y'all weird. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying?
No, because as you get to that point, you realize, like, and now you understand it. Yeah. Like, okay, look, these two probably can never reach their full potential together.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, it is what it is, but it would just be like,
it's weird,
it's
man.
Weird at this point, you know what I'm saying?
Man.
And I think, you know, another thing why we end up going into those, kind of like becoming like our parents, cause like, I mean, I know from like, listening to you and like, you know, how you are with your family and like knowing how I am like with my family and stuff, like we try to be good sons. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like through the whole good son thing, like you start becoming, you know what I'm saying? That like you start taking that man role. So it's like the only man that you really know is your father. Yeah. And so, whether he was here or not. Yeah. You know?
And so like I said, it's just mostly understanding for me as when I realize something and I might even do something and I be like, damn, just like my dad. Yeah. Like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like and like it's crazy, man, like to think about that a lot. And I think if you still got your parents around, man, appreciate it, man.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, because that, to me, that's still a blessing in this day and age.
Yeah. And, you know, thankfully, like, I don't know if you do, I do remember, like, I was probably like 4 years old. Yeah. Like, I remember my parents together. Yeah. But then it was just like, I remember, but like, I think when they finally like split and everything, my dad was around so much because I lived with my mom initially. Yeah. But my dad was around so much that it just like, it never like registered like what was going on in the situation.
I mean, I remember my parents being together. I just now know, and like, you know, when they split, I probably was like, man, why all this and everything like that. But the more that I got to know my pops and my mom separately, I'm like, nah, it's better. Yeah. And it's better for them to be apart, man. So
at the end, guys, it's been a good one, man.
It's
you know, I think that you know, I think our message is just appreciate your parents, you know, don't fight the good stuff that's gonna happen. Try to avoid the pitfalls that your parents been through. Yeah. But this been the Back Room. This your boy CG.
This your boy Bernard Bars, man.
And we out.